It is Thursday, April 27th, 2023, and I am Mr. Benja. Welcome to Mr. Benja's ADD experience, and this is a thoughtful Thursday. Something I used to do back in the day when I used to do these Instagram lives all the time. But now I want to bring it back. I want to keep doing this. That's why you're seeing this little filter here, because it's Thoughtful Thursday, where I sit back and think about something, and creativity does have a lot of thought involved. But when I say Thoughtful Thursday, I mean thinking about the self, the mind, the body, the soul, and all that jazz. So if you've never done a little breathing with me, take the time, sit back. Got about 30 minutes here we're going to do. And just chill for 1 second. Just relax. Start with a nice breath in and breathe out. In through the nose, slowly out through the mouth. You do that a few times and get into a certain rhythm, get your mindset right. It seems simple, but in training yourself, your body, your mind, your soul, and everything to get into a certain rhythm. And breathing is important because it brings oxygen to your lungs, distributes it through the blood, and can end up getting you in a calmer state, consciously thinking about doing it. So I may do a whole program on breath work and how to really make it happen. For now, just breathing quickly through the nose, breathe slowly out through the mouth, and relax. So yes, Thoughtful Thursday. I'm going to start this one with a classic thing that I've always said, or I've been saying for at least 10 years now. Definitely since I got out of the video game industry, and partly when I was in the game industry. So I'll give you that whole history some other time. But the rule, the mandate, the idea is don't be stressed. For all that you're creating and all that you do, try to take the care to not be stressed. A lot of you have heard me say this before, and I say that almost as a way to deflect or absorb or defend against any type of negative, stressful feelings that are going on. And I realized this was becoming sort of a mantra. I would say it in different ways. I would say, hey, don't be stressed, or hey, I can't be stressed, or y'all not going to get me upset. Y'all are going to get my nerves going bad. I actually think I got that from one of my parents or my aunts or uncles. Y'all not going to have me. But I wanted to remain calm. I attribute most of this to my dad and my mom. My dad was the much more calm person. My mother was the one who was more prone to stress, being the way that she lived her life. She was very go-get-em, very strict on certain things. So I actually saw the effect in her more, but my dad was more of the natural, relaxed person. They both worked well together like that. It was pretty great. But anyway, let's define what stress is. What is stress? So there's a site I found that gave a pretty decent, pretty solid explanation. I'll use it here. You can modify it. In fact, this is a slightly modified version of theirs. I went to verywellmind.org and modified their version of stress to say, stress is any situation or change that causes physical, emotional, or psychological strain that your mind, body, and soul feel you should respond to. I still need to juice up that definition a little bit, but that's basically it. You got a situation that your body feels it should respond to. and that's causing you strain. May cause you strain even after you respond to it. So we all have different definitions of stress for ourselves. And hey, what's up, Todd? We all have different definitions of stress for ourselves. I know it's taken me a while to understand what it meant for me, but I always had so much going on that I felt that I couldn't get to where I wanted to be because something was always in the way, intercepting me, coming up, challenging me. And for whatever reasons, valid or invalid, I started to stress myself out. And I realized this was not just affecting me. It was starting to spread outwards to where I was holding on to these stressors, and I was reflecting them back out into the world around me. So I wanted to start studying and releasing some of that. Religion was involved at one point, and I'm not anti-religion or anything. There are a lot of good tenets in most religions that you can learn from. And I grew up in a Southern Baptist environment, so I understand that point of view very well. But I learned things from religion, a lot of spiritual teachings, the art scene in general, arts, expressing yourself, modern wellness, and not just physical health, like running or jogging or whatever, but also there's a mental practice that goes along with a lot of that. I think yoga is the most popular mix of that. Secret one, what's happening? And, I had to let go of a lot of that and using techniques from, as I said, religion, physical world, yoga, just mind practices, mindfulness, relaxation, actually having fun with my friends, with games. I say games because I used to work in video games, and it was weird. I went to an industry all about relaxation, escapism, and having fun, and it turned out to be very stressful for me. So learning how to reconnect with what I liked, a lot of different tactics I use. I'm not going to get into all the tactics or whatever, but I'm willing to talk about any of them. But I definitely wanted to get away from a lot of these stresses. And I want to bring this back up today because I hear a lot of people talking about the economy, talking about different people they're involved with. North Prime, good seeing you. Yeah, and all people showing up here that have lessened the stress in my life, made me a happier person because of meeting them. Thank you all for showing up. As always, if you have anything to say, throw it in the comments right now, whenever. And, I was in the game industry and kept trying to do these things, and it kept stressing me out. And I kept thinking that all these other outside deals were the problem. Like, whatever I saw in the news, that must be the problem. What my uncle said, that's the problem. That's the reason I'm stressed out. That's the reason I'm in pain. Or, I don't have enough resources to get this done. That's causing me pain. I'm living in the wrong city. And at some point I started to realize that these were excuses. And I started to get tired of hearing myself say, in fact, I was just getting annoyed with that string of excuses right there. And, things are very legitimate. I don't mean to minimize whatever anyone's going through, but don't make excuses for yourself to be stressed out. And this is where I got to this little mantra, this little rule of myself where I said, don't be stressed. I can't be stressed. I would see friends of mine getting very upset. Like, well, they asked me to stay late at work and I already did X, Y, and Z. They don't know me. They can't tell me. And like, don't be stressed. And that's the original starting point, the original push, the original onus. Just don't be stressed. And try to follow that. Tell yourself, I can't be stressed, or I won't be stressed. Whether that means letting go of something, letting go of a certain pain, whether that means improving yourself, whether that means getting help from somebody to alleviate your situation, alleviate the pain in your situation, or reframing it. That's all about following your own mantra of I won't be stressed. And North Prime, what did I do in the gaming industry? I started out as a programmer, a game programmer. And what I mean by game programmer is instead of in the video game industry, there's graphics, animation, graphics programming, animation programming, systems programming, network programming, et cetera, all these different programmings. I was one of the game programmers. What that meant is I programmed the logic and the systems in the game so that it behaved in a way that made sense for that game. So I was keeping score. I was making sure that when you shot a rocket, for example, it hit what it was supposed to. It flied at a certain rate. That dealt with me working with the physics programmers, and it dealt with me working with everybody in the team, basically, because I was kind of the person making sure that all these ideas came together and played out properly. So now that you mentioned that, you just made me realize that I think I actually got a lot of stress because I was dealing with so many people with so many wants and needs and requirements for the games that I took an extra amount of stress on when I joined the video game industry. Thank you for mentioning that. I never thought of it that way. But when you're an introvert, and I don't mean shy, I just mean you get your energy from doing things on your own and working with your own facilities as opposed to going around dealing with others all the time. Yeah, I wasn't shy. And in fact, I think not being shy was actually a problem also. But anyway, I would let these stresses build up because go talk to this person. They need this. Or go talk to that person. They wanted that. And this was at home too, with my family. I got into a problem solving kind of mindset at a very early age. And I started seeing many things as problems. And that got me to start taking on a lot of stresses and not addressing them appropriately, not really jumping in there and I don't want to say dealing with, because it's something you're constantly working on. It's not like you solve your stress problems. You just make yourself better. That makes any sense. Your body's always going to give you a certain amount of response to your outside environment, whether that's, your knee starts hurting and that's causing you a certain physical stress. Your head starts hurting as a result of too much mental stress in a certain direction, or a combination of all these. Hey, do your thing, Todd. I'm going to be recording these podcasts and putting them out on the podcast stream, so they'll be available there. Thanks, Todd. And don't worry, I'll be back to do more of these lives. I'll try to keep doing them earlier in the day, but sticking to a solid schedule right now with these is kind of stressing me out. So I'm going to be a little loose with the rules so I don't stress myself out. How's that? Anyway, back to what I was saying with people on the job. I noticed a lot of people were just getting stressed about so many things. And I had a flip in my mindset. And here's where it went. I want to frame this properly. In computer programming and in engineering, a lot of your development / creative type of fields, what you have is a system that says, what are your desired results? What are your wants, needs, requirements? What's the problem? What are the obstacles in your way? And it's here's a problem, solve the problem type of lifestyle. And having that type of framework for your entire life means you start looking at everything as an obstacle or a problem. So in these creative ventures, you can start thinking of it as, hey, I'm trying to, let's say there's a big rock in the middle of the road, right? And it's an obstacle for you. You've got to get on the other side of it. You have many different options. And I'm going to get back to how to deal with stress, but I'm just saying if there's an obstacle in your way, here's how creatives attack it. So you have, with 32, what's going on? Thanks for joining. You have an obstacle in your path, and you have different ways of dealing with that obstacle. You can try to move it out of the way. There's a big rock in the road. You can move it out of the way. You can go over it. You can go around it. You may try to dig a hole underneath it. You may try to find a way to fly over the rock. Or you may try to even find another road entirely. Some people have actually decided there's a rock in the middle of the road. I must not need to go any further. And that might be true for you. Maybe you call in some rock demolition people and they destroy the rock in the road. Maybe you find everybody else who's blocked by this rock in the road and all of you get together, lift it, move it out of the way. Or maybe you turn the rock into a tourist attraction and set up some signs and say, hey, come visit my rock. I'm charging money for it. And you get rich because you turn the rock in the road into a tourist attraction. Maybe you're a mutant like Kitty Pryde and you phase through the rock. Whatever. If any of you remember the old X-Men intro, they would have them all going through an obstacle in their different ways. Wolverine would cut through the door, Colossus would smash through it. Subtle little things like that stuck with me. So that's always in my head. If you can visualize a way of getting around, through, under, over, on the other side of an obstacle, that's your way. So this is how I thought about creativity, getting to the other side of an obstacle where I could get a result, right? May not happen all at once, but I had to get that result. That was the idea. So then I kept looking at stressors as an obstacle, as something I needed to battle, challenge, to fight. And that didn't seem to be the right approach because let's say I think Tucker Carlson or whoever, Don Lemon, we'll use them since they're on the news. Let's say one of them, they're my stressors. Every time I see them on TV, I get mad, So now it's like, okay, they're the problem, right? That's what I was thinking at the time. They're the problem. Let me go find a way to not listen to Don Lemon. Oh, I'm on YouTube and somebody posts about Don Lemon and I get stressed because, I'm on Facebook and somebody posts Tucker Carlson and it's one of my friends. So let's say I get mad at that. See, I haven't really dealt with the problem in that case because that obstacle is not out there. It's actually in me. I'm the one who's getting stressed. So I started having to ask myself, how do I stop myself from getting stressed? And I realized in a certain way, I was my own obstacle. I know this is something you hear about a lot. You may, you're in your own way, you're your own worst enemy and be easier on yourself, etc. But when you have a certain flip in your head, physical, emotional, spiritual, and sociological flip in your head that says that no, what I need to fix is inside of me, then all of a sudden the obstacle metaphor has to change into something else. So now, instead of trying to get to the other side of the obstacle, how can I make the good things in a situation come to me? That's one way of putting it, but may not apply to everybody. So how can I get how can I get the things that I need to get so that I can rise above the need to actually get that obstacle destroyed? It's kind of the inverse kind of thing, instead of worrying about the rock being out there, you start thinking to yourself, why is this rock an obstacle? Why is this a problem? Why is this causing me pain? Why is this frustrating? It's something that happened. Yes. I take everybody's plights very seriously, but ultimately I'm responding to it. My body is literally responding to something. I may get stressed that I'm not going to get somewhere in time. I may be stressed about someone not, quote unquote, not liking me somebody's upset. We should all still have these problems. They never go away. You just learn how to deal with them better. So if I ever have said to you, don't be stressed, I'm not minimizing what's happening with you at all. I'm trying to say that the answer is within how you respond. Like I said, stress is a response mechanism, and it's your responsibility to decide how to respond. It takes work, it takes practice. I can definitely do a lot more on this, but I'm going to say that if you don't find a way to rise above, make whatever you're dealing with irrelevant, or completely conquer a stressor, then you may just end up trying to run away from it. Or, a lot of people will tell you, hey, somebody's stressing you, somebody pisses you off, just don't deal with them, just don't bother with them. And you might spend your entire life running away from something. Either that or spend your entire life trying to destroy something outside of you. And I think I brought this up today because I realized that a lot of us are in a futile battle against stressors, right? Where we think that we can get rid of all the Don Lemons, the Tucker Carlsons or whatever, the Donald Trumps, the Joe Bidens, the Harvey Weinsteins, the Ezra Millers. Those things are going to be there. They're always going to piss you off. And if time has taught us anything, it's like, it doesn't matter what the era is. Something is going to be around that has the ability to piss you off. It's your decision to decide to be stressed, pissed off, saddened, anxious. Anxiety is what I still deal with from time to time. But I'm working on it, and I'm much better. So there are a lot of attributing factors, and there are a lot of ways that it builds up in the body. And you can always associate these with negative emotions: anger, fear, distress, envy. A lot of those are tied into different types of stresses where we felt some stress and then all of a sudden it starts displaying itself in these negative emotions. So we need to sit down and look at ourselves. As I said, I am not a psychologist. I know just through looking at an entire life of creating solutions and trying to overcome obstacles, that a lot of it has to do with changing yourself in some way or another. And I've successfully done it. I've watched people who are successful do it. A lot of people in my family have succeeded in conquering their stressors, I guess. And a lot of them have. So I guess I'll start wrapping up with this idea that your reality, your mind, your world is kind of how you frame it and decide it to be. So if you can just start with the simple idea that I'm not going to be stressed, or I can't be stressed, or this is not going to get me down, and you continually practice that, you start to get on the path of figuring it out. I would not suggest quick solutions. I would not suggest immediately running to a pharmaceutical solution. I would not try to run away or avoid the issues. Because if you notice I have to interject this, a lot of people will take whatever's stressing them, find a way to sweep the dirt under the rug, or, just put their head in the sand, or, just paint over, take a Sharpie and go over the scratch on the car. And look, the scratch is still there. Your car could rust because of that. So if you want to take care of it properly, you take care of it properly. But it's a slow process, and it's a slow process out because it was probably a slow process in. You didn't all of a sudden get completely stressed. You may have been watching the news for the past 20 years. And what has it done for you? You may have been arguing with your brother or sister for the past 30 years. What has it got? You may have been scared of dogs for all of your life. What has that got? So I am advocating an actual change, like I always do in the subject of creativity. But it's one that you have to look in for yourself. Look at what you're doing. Look at what your body is responding to. Look at your thoughts. And once you start getting to a place where you start taking control, you actually get to a much, much calmer place. Same for your praying. Haven't seen you in a while. What's going on? So yeah, solving problems, creating the world you're looking for. To me, a lot of that is dependent on my personal number one rule for the past 8, 9, 10 years is don't be stressed. Honestly, I grew my hair out because I was so excited that I could grow my hair out after I stopped being so stressed. I couldn't grow my facial hair like this when I was really stressed out. It was really patchy and, it was terrible. It was looking bad. I could have gone to a doctor and they would have tried to prescribe some, hair loss creams or whatever, but I just stopped being stressed. It was kind of amazing to me how my hair started changing. And that was just one external effect from an internal change. I got that from my barber, by the way. My barber he was not trying to be stressed, even though he lived in a very stressful situation, grew up in a very stressful environment, my barber. And he once told me that, hey man, you seem stressed. And I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I can tell by your hair. Blew my mind. I was like, what? I'll tell that story later, but terribly enlightening. But yeah, getting where you should be starts with looking inward, looking at yourself, looking at what you're doing, and trying to make a decision that I will maybe not make a decision. Maybe that's a little harsh of a term because you're not going to be able to do this all at once. But it's telling yourself, I am on the way to not being stressed. I can't be stressed. You won't stress me out. I don't get stressed like that. But if you kind of keep that as a rule, not a rule that you're always going to be able to abide by, but a rule that you're going to always say to yourself, a rule that you're always going to trust in, put your faith in. I won't be stressed. These things that are happening out there and have nothing to do with how I process. Something I see on the news disturbs me. It might very well be disturbing, but it becomes stressful when I hold on to it, when I internalize it. So I'm not saying look away. Once again, something happens, sad, angry, it makes me mad, whatever. I look at it, understand it, acknowledge it, but try not to get stressed by it. Quick breath in through the nose. Hold. Slow breath out through the mouth. Breathing exercise. Probably do more again on that later. So that's it for this one. As always, if you wonder about what I'm doing or anything like that, I can try to keep more of my things public. MrBenja.com is where I funnel a lot of my information. You can see all the links to my different socials. You can contact me pretty much anywhere you can find me, and I'm good with that. And if there's anything that's stressing you out, find a way to help yourself out. Find a way to develop and keep building whatever life you're building, whatever creative. I think my recording got messed up. My recording did get messed up. Oh, well, I'll do it again. But you have to keep on with whatever your vibe is, your personal energy. That's paramount, and stress will eat away at that. So in conclusion, listen, don't be stressed. find help, find ways to get past it, find the growth inside yourself to overcome or make the stresses irrelevant. Don't be afraid of them. Don't don't avoid them. Don't say they're not a part of you, because they do represent you. Your body's responding to something, and your body thinks it should be responding to something. Your mind thinks it should be responding, your soul or whatever. Understand it. Hold on to it. Acknowledge it. Just don't internalize it. Don't keep it with you. Don't be stressed. This is another one from Mr. Benja. Thank you very much. I'm going to be coming here many nights, and I'm going to try to get back on this, see how it goes. I did miss you guys from the last time I was doing this. It was not stressing me out actually to do these, but I want to try some other things, and this took a seat to the side. So now I'm back doing these lives. I'm going to be posting these up to my podcast stream, so you'll be able to find me. You can find me on Apple Podcasts, all the different channels. And on there, I have some episodes that aren't necessarily done on live. I have offline recordings that I put on there, and that's where I archive a lot of these discussions. So get at me, send me your messages, your emails, etc., and we'll talk about them. Thank you very much, and have a great day. Don't be stressed.